Hi guys, back again. Today we're going to talk about biochar and what we like to call as the sixth key element, and ideally the first one you do in a regenerative agriculture process when you're trying to move from conventional to regen, or if you're starting regen from scratch. And the reason why biochar is so powerful, we talk a lot about increasing the microbial population in your soil, which is the key building block to all food, so all life in the soil, and it's the key to regenerative agriculture. And why biochar works so well, biochar under a microscope is highly porous. And the reason why that's so critical is because the microbes migrate from your compost or your biofertilizer into the charcoal. And think of them as trillions of tiny little homes in the soil. And they can grow to much higher populations in biochar than they can if they're just in soil alone. And that's why biochar is so powerful. If you have a much higher population of bacteria and fungi in the soil, by pollinating the biochar, you can then have a lot more nematodes and protozoa, and therefore a lot more worms. And that's the key to regen, is really supercharging that life in the soil. So that's one of the key reasons why biochar works, is that microbial population just explodes. So you then end up with a healthier plant because they help with the plant accessing nutrients and water from the soil. The other key reasons are biochar is negatively charged, and most nutrients are positively charged. So the nutrients bind to the biochar in the soil. So when you have heavy rains, you don't have nutrient runoff, which is what happens typically in a conventional farm. But also, as we all know, biochar acts like a sponge. So it can hang on to water for a lot longer in the soil than can otherwise be the case. So when the plants do need it, particularly during dry periods, the plants can access water for a lot longer during the season than they otherwise could with no biochar in the soil. So that's why it's so critical, that nutrient binding process and the water retention, and then the explosion of mycology that happens, microbes that happens in the soil, because they can just grow to much higher populations. And that's why you end up with really fluffy soil. You don't need to till it because it's super fluffy, and you can feel it underfoot. The ground becomes a lot spongier once you've applied biochar and you've made that transition to regen. But they're the really critical selling points for biochar. And the other one, really, for me, is once you've used it at the right application level, you never need to use it again because it lasts for thousands of years in the soil. As we've now rediscovered that the Aztecs and the Mayans, this is where biochar has really come from. It's rediscovered there in South America. They were using it for thousands of years to create highly fertile soil in the Amazon. And there's some great docos online that you can find. The best one called El Dorado. But that's why it's so critical, because it doesn't dissolve in the soil. It just keeps pumping out higher and higher populations of biology as the seasons go on.